Hello guys. Welcome to yet another episode of Good Talks. Today we are having a wonderful guest, one of my uh, day ones, right? His name is
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Ifeanyi Olua, and he's an artist. He's a musician. He's a producer, a multi instrumentalist. Very talented young man. I've learned a lot from him, musically, right? So Ifeanyi, it's so good to have you on. How you
Thank
doing?
you, man. How am I doing?
Yeah,
I'm
man,
I'm good. I'm I'm,
that's
I
great.
could be better, but I'm good.
That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So, without no, without any further ado, right? I just want to know a bit, about your journey, and I just want you to tell us a bit about your journey, and what led you into music production, songwriting, and, you know,
Um
even
to
playing,
keep even
right,
playing.
like instruments. What got you into music in general?
Um I was blessed. I am blessed enough. I was blessed enough to be born into a very musical family. My parents can sing. My dad plays instruments. Basic level, but still, you know.
Yeah.
And usually you are like you end up multiplying like what your parents have, you know.
Sure.
So because a musical family, I kind of just easily moved into that kind of thing. My dad taught me how to play instruments, and it is my food, is my drug, is my everything. It is
Yeah.
everything. I'm constantly thinking about music. So that is how I landed there. But like music production specifically, I think I didn't know. I think I would say most producers, if not all, have been producing all their lives without knowing. If you have the ear to pick out instruments, or if you have the ear to pick out progressions, things like that, and you're always trying to arrange and put things together, you very likely have the mind of a musician. Also, if you have like a very eclectic taste in music, maybe you want to listen to like different genres and you appreciate different kinds. Chances are you should be a producer or a composer or something of that nature. And um, same thing with me. I've always been trying to put it together, put things together to form something. Um, yeah, but like properly using, like starting to use like an audio workstation, that started around from 2017 ish, 2017, 2018. Yeah, that was when I started like trying to put things together on
Yeah.
software to form beats and stuff like that, recording audio, all that stuff.
Right. Right. So, I'm actually just curious. Like, when was the first notable body of work that you know, really the one that you
Okay.
remember ever so fondly?
The first notable thing I made,
Right.
notable, that was with yeah, Lady Donley.
Right.
That came out 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2021, like I think June, July. So it's her EP called Wild, and I made the beat and I produced the what's it called, the first track of the same title, Wild. So yeah, that was the first notable thing I did.
That's a really impressive milestone if you ask me. Really impressive first notable thing, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so just moving forward, right? Trying to understand how your creative process sort of is. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I understand being a creative myself in is a much different, niche. Okay,
Yeah.
I know that there are times where you're stuck. Okay, you don't know
Mm-hmm.
you don't know how to maneuver your way into the next idea, or the next you know sort of milestone. Okay, and so you have creative blocks here and there. But I'm just curious. When was a time that you felt truly stuck creating music, or it could actually be creating anything worthwhile, but talking about music.
Yeah.
When was the first time you feel like you felt truly stuck?
I don't think I remember the first time, but I remember the feeling.
Okay.
It was it. So first of all, you start to feel like you're a one-trick pony. First of all, because you go into whatever it is however way you're trying to create in that period. It feels like at the end of the day, when you start to create the thing you're trying to create, you end up just repeating something similar to what you have been making before. That's when I start to feel stuck. It's like, can't I get out of this? Can I get out of this thing like I'm doing? Like I'm just repeating myself, and you need to. Sometimes you need to you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Do you understand? Basically, you don't want to keep making the same kind of beats because you yourself, you get tired, So yeah, that was definitely what happened. I have found I somehow was making similar things and I didn't like it. I wanted to change up. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can resonate with that because when you find yourself, doing the same thing over and over again, there are so many things that come into play. There is you doubting yourself in a sense, and it's like, am I really creative, or am I just good at this particular one thing, right? Can I?
Yeah.
Right, and then you start to wonder if you can actually, do something, much larger than what you're currently doing, right? So, how do you navigate through that then?
How do I get through the blocks?
Yeah, how do you get unstuck?
So the first thing I do is I noticed something. Have you ever been in a situation where you're playing a video game and you've reached a certain level and it's like, this level is tough. You repeat, you die, you play it again, you die, you play it again, like you respawn. So for my personal experience, and I believe this is a shared experience, is that I will just leave the game for some days, like a day or two, then come back to it. And then with a fresh mind, open mind, possibly new ideas, and then by the time you come in and it's like, you get past the level like this and it's like, I didn't notice. How did you understand? So one thing about creativity is I don't like to. There's a saying. There was not a saying. Sorry, there was a line in Toy Story. I believe that was Toy Story 2. Sorry, that's a funny reference. But where there's this guy that's trying to clean up Woody after he's been damaged a little bit, and the guy that's trying to sell the dolls, he's like you should hurry up, and the guy says you can't rush art. So that's how I feel. I feel like there isn't any need to, because when you rush it, you can tell it didn't come from that creative well from which, and people say creativity doesn't finish, and I truly believe that, you will always be creative, but back to what I was saying, how I get through it is I just wait, come back again, then also diversify your creative, that. I don't know if the word is diversify, but play with your creative process. So for some people, it might be, if they are doing songwriting, for example, they will write it down first, then apply them, put melodies in, and maybe that's their own method. And maybe it's been working for a while, and then it comes to a time where they've experienced a block. I would say try doing the melodies first and don't think too much about the music. Do you understand? Or play with it. For example, I will just be going through synths like VSTs and all that stuff, and just be playing around, trying to play with the melody, and with no specific thing in mind, I'm just playing around. And when I now catch either a progression or a melody or a loop that sounds really nice, then I can build off of that. Another day it could be like a drum, it could be a drum loop that is in my head. I'll record a voice note, then translate that into the DAW, and then from there I'll build around that. So it's different things, and that way it's you have different ways through which you can access or inspire yourself. It could be there was a day I had access to this guitar pedal. It was a looping pedal, so you could just loop stuff, and it was I couldn't stop making things. So basically the point of this is just to try different ways to to create. It doesn't have to be the same way you've been doing. Try something else, and you'll be surprised what could come out.
True. So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Right. It also got me thinking though, because you mentioned something, right? You mentioned not rushing, basically not rushing art, right? But what if you're in a situation, right, where you have a deadline? What do you do in that case? Because me personally, I find that when I'm sort of pressed to get work done before a particular time, I always get it done, right? Something always comes. So that pressure, do you think, have you ever been in that situation, one? And two, do you think, if so, do you think, that pressure, adds to, something coming up creative wise?
Okay, I do. I think so. I think that the pressure has a way of forcing you to come up with something.
Is that something that happens to you often?
No, not very often, because I also work. I don't know. I've been lucky enough to work with people who understand the nature of like inspiration. Like sometimes it's just not there. Right. You understand. Sorry, what was the other part of the question again?
So have you been in that situation? If you have, is it something that I mean you have answered the question, both questions.
Okay.
Right. Have you? So the question was, have you been in that situation? And if you have, is it something that is the pressure something that adds to your creative fuel?
Yes, sometimes. Yes. Okay. So I was going to say yes. One of the things was like, if I know there's a deadline and I have to create something, a major thing would be to create like a framework. Because like I said, I said like you shouldn't rush art, but at the same time, I don't think it means you should lack discipline about, like you should be indisciplined when it comes to the creation. There should be some kind of framework for sure, like a guide that helps you to make informed decisions and just slowly to get towards your goal of creating whatever it is you're trying to create. And then when it comes for you to like actually do the more, because that side is the more like mechanical side, and you have the more creative and then you can, but at least there should be some level of discipline. So a framework, and something as simple as if you're trying to record a song, or you're trying to lay instruments for a song. What I would do, for example, and it's not about the specific thing as much as it's about the principle, is to I will use markers, right? And it sounds like a very common thing, a very normal thing. What markers like verse, chorus, bridge, pre-chorus. Once I've broken the song down into all those parts, then I can start to know, okay, yes, this is what I need to do here, this is what I need to do here. So it's some kind of framework to help me think. Because once you have clarity and there's you know what you're thinking about, then it's easier to execute. So definitely having a framework.
It's not always, you shouldn't always leave it to let's say flexibility. Like you should sort of temper that with some mechanical aspects, right?
100%. 100%.
I like that. What do you think about happy mistakes though? Is that something that you embrace, or is that something that happens time
yes.
time?
Yeah. 100%.
So I'd like to ask, when you're not feeling inspired, are there any activities that you like to do, any places, things that you like to do?
When I'm not feeling inspired, I like to I will look to other people doing similar things. I try to just watch for their methods, if the way they create, because everyone, like I said before, everyone has a different way to create, and I try to see if I can mimic the same process, not to create what they're creating, not to copy, but mimic like the process that they are using to get to. That helps usually. Another thing, like I said, is just to like go away from it from like go away from the thing you're doing entirely and do something else.
Yeah. Right.
Like you get like if you get like a fresh perspective on things, you come back to it. Musically, my like a very major, like a big source of inspiration, I would say, is I don't know. It's a bunch of people. It's not one person. It's been all the artists I look up to and respect the way that they approach their expression musically, and whether it's the way people this guy Foster the People, right? I mean, Mark Foster, or Kendrick Lamar's approach to his art, period. Or there's even he's a less known artist. His name is Relye, Relyae, and I love the way he sounds, or the texture of the stacked vocals on what's this guy's Jungle. So it's a lot of things. All those things put together have a way of inspiring my own style, and well, eventually to be seen, and people will see that.
Right. I like that. You also mentioned that you like to listen to other genres of music, to get like fresh ideas. I really
100%.
mess with that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Even I think I'm a I'm a promoter of doing even not just music, other forms of art, right? Even if it's painting, it could be, even looking at visual arts, right? Just stimulating your brain in various ways, right? So what I'd like to ask you this question, but I think I'll move that down. But my next question would be, how much of your process would you say is structured versus improvisation, right? What if you were to give a percentage or a general?
Yeah. Okay. How much of my process is structured versus improvisational?
Yeah.
I would say it is very, very based on vibes, because that's the purest form, in my opinion. I don't like to think about what I'm going to do. I can have an idea. I mean, sometimes, yes, you have like the full idea just falls in your mind. At least like the skeleton falls in your mind, the carcass comes. But other times it's like, let me start here. Let me do this. And for me, whatever it is, just make sure it's from a very true place. You understand? Yes. But yeah, I don't think about it too much, as long as it feels good to me, because I'm just going to like get into it. I'm going to digress if I get into that. But at the end of the day, it's very improvisational, and especially if you're working on your own, I very much support doing that. Like, just flow, go with the flow of the music, of the thing you're creating. Apply grids and some very specific what's the word I'm looking for? Guides, I think, for lack of a better word, to your design. Yeah. It's creative, but it's also very iterative and very planned. So yeah, I do. It depends on what you're doing, but for music specifically, I would always say go with the vibe. I mean, of course, if you're in a specific type of genre, so think outside the box, but inside the genre. I've stolen that. I stole that from somewhere, but you get the idea, Sha.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a really good advice. That's really good advice. It's kind of like structured chaos. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Right.
I understand you.
Yeah. So, what part of the songwriting or production process would you say is the most painstaking?
For me, it's lyrics. Lyrics for sure. Thinking of what to write, thinking of what to put. Like I said something before that I recently started doing. It wasn't something I was doing before, which is to give a melody first, and then find
Yeah.
words that fit into the melody. But yeah, for me, putting words to a beat, I'm not very good with songwriting. It's because I don't practice very much, to be honest. But on the musical side of things, that's the easier part. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to, aspiring songwriters or producers, who are struggling to find their voice, or who are struggling to not just find their voice actually, but who are struggling in their creative process? Let me put it that way. What advice would you give to them to get out of that creative rut or mind block, or whatever term you want to call it?
One of the first things I would say is to just give it time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know. I always think it's very important to like rest your mind from something, take time away from it and come back. Yeah. But like another thing I would say is there's a saying, imitate before you innovate, which is like copy people, man. Don't copy to infringe. Copy what you've seen. Copy your favorite producers, like bar for bar, but like only for educational purposes. Yeah. Copy to the last bit. What it will do is it will give you, while you're copying and you're recreating that, while you're imitating that, it will give you an insight into how they apply the concepts that they use and into how they think. And that can help you creatively. It can improve your skill level. Also, it can improve your skill level. It will inspire you. It will teach you new things. That's one of the best ways to learn, by copying.
Yeah.
But not to copy, like I said, not to copy for lack of because you lack originality, or to copy and take as your own and claim as your own, but for educational purposes, to learn, for sure. I always support that. It's one of the best things you can do.
So personally, right, I think creativity is such an exponential. I think creativity is a gift, first, right? Because, like you said, you can't actually run out. I don't think we can run out of, creativity as a collective. And what I mean by that is there isn't a shortage of inspiration to creativity, right? Because there are so many, like you said, copying someone, looking at how they've, what their thought process was, behind creating whatever it was that they created. I feel like there's so many sort of splices, there's so many combinations, there's so many, like you can look at, for instance, you can look at, work from 2 or 3 artists, and then you birthed something new. Do you understand? Like it's actually so dynamic, and I look at it as building something, because actually we make something new every time we do that, whether people like it or not. So I really I'm also a proponent of that as well. I do a lot of copying as well. That's by the right. So anyway, back to what we were saying. Are there any sort of exercises or practices that you recommend for getting back into that creative flow? You've touched on a couple of them, but I just want you to sort of while answering that, I want you to sort of go into why it's important to experiment and take creative risks and things as such. So are there practices, exercises?
Yes, for me specifically, I will try to hum a melody and play on the piano and reharmonize as much as I can, mix and match chord progressions until they form something new that isn't typical for me, that isn't typical of, okay, I'm used to this is my typical chord progression. And when I do that, then that definitely helps. Concepts as well, just playing with new concepts by looking into artists, maybe obscure artists, maybe famous ones and well-known ones, maybe underground ones, and just their concepts, and not really taking in a with finesse, not in a crass way, but like I said before, then experimenting. I think it's important as well to open up new ways to be creative. You can't just be doing the same thing. Play around, break the rules sometimes. You understand? As long as it feels good to you, tear the rules to pieces, man. You understand? Who said that your song has to start with an intro? You can't just drop the bridge inside there. I'm just saying, you understand? But play around with it and see. You can't do something extraordinary if you're not taking risks, and you have to take risks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah. Just to wrap it up, fine. Because I've, even before this conversation that we're currently having, the ones that we had, before this, I've really had a good time.
Yeah, man, same.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation that we had so far. But just to wrap it up, like I said, are there any upcoming projects that you have that you're working on that you're willing to announce, that you're maybe excited about, I want to share?
Any upcoming projects? Every other thing I've worked on so far is with other artists. Is with other artists, and I don't know if they are ready to talk about that. But like, even I don't want to say because I'm not 100% sure. But I should be having a project coming out next year, an EP. Okay. And you personally, you've heard some of
right.
You heard some of the tracks.
Right.
So, yeah, man.
So when was that? Just so that we can hold you accountable. When the experiment?
When is what? When are we expecting? I'm sorry, I can't tell you right now. I cannot say. But
yeah,
because
I was just hoping to catch you sleeping.
Right. I'm crying. I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, it's all good, man. It's all good. Right. So just use this opportunity, right, to plug in, your stuff. Basically, how can the listeners connect with you online and your music as well?
I'll be honest. When the time comes, they will know.
Okay.
Because I'm not too keen on. I'm more keen on creating than any other thing.
Okay.
But I don't think I even have enough right now at the moment to even say, okay, connect with this. But the time will come when the time comes, I will make noise, hopefully. Okay. And I'll just say, like, here it is. Like, I will let you guys know, like, see it here, listen, do all that. So,
right. All right, sure. Man. So, any, last words of encouragement for creatives dealing with creative blocks?
Yes. Practice and try new things as much as you can, and always look to learn and be inspired to learn from and be inspired by the more established people or the people higher up. So for you, for example, like as a graphic designer, I would say look and get inspired by Paul Asher or what is a graphic designer again? How have they all left my brain? But yeah, that's the only one that comes to my mind right now. Anyway, but for me, it would be look up to all my favorite producers and the way they approach their production, and like I said, try new things, man, for sure.
Yeah, man.
And keep an open mind. Keep a very open mind.
Right. So try new things. You have to learn. You have to copy. Right. Heavy on copying, but not for infringement, but more for educational reasons.
100%.
Right. Ifeanyi, thank you so much, man. I feel like this has been such a productive conversation that we've had, man.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bless you, bro.
yeah, man. Looking forward to our next conversation. Not this year. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said hopefully next year.
Okay.
Next year, hopefully. Finally. I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for taking to help on
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You too.
Cheers.